In their sweaters, they showed us that even though Fred had gone to heaven some time ago, he'd left us the neighborhood's blueprints, and we could rebuild it whenever we'd like, even in a hospital nursery on a frigid November day. In 1920, a Frenchman named Antoine de Saint-Exupéry enrolled at the Beaux-Arts school in Paris, hoping to become an architect. He dropped out before he finished his studies, but he'd learned enough about blueprints to pen the most memorable line in The Little Prince, a novella he published many years later. L'essentiel est invisible pour les yeux, Saint-Exupéry wrote. What is essential is invisible to the eye. Fred loved The Little Prince, and he loved that quote best of all. He loved it so much that he hung it in his office. Reading it now, Saint-Exupéry's quote put me in mind of a house. We call an old house beautiful when its wood is polished and fine, when it's furnished with well-made things, when there's art on the walls and the gardens in bloom. But what's essential about the house is almost always hidden from view. We don't see the minds that dreamed it, or the labor that built it. We don't see the nuts and bolts that brace it or the love that lives in its rooms. And if we ever want to rebuild it or add a modern wing, then we have to grasp its design. We have to get into the crawl spaces and pull up the carpets and have a look at what's beneath. We have to go back to its blueprints. You might say the same of the neighborhood. So much of what made the program essential was invisible to the camera, built so carefully into Fred's scripts and songs that you'd never know it was there. When Fred put on a sweater at the start of each episode, we only knew that it made us feel safe. We never saw the hours he spent with scientists and teachers and experts in child development, engineering that very feeling. When he took us to visit a factory, we only knew that we'd gone somewhere fun. We never saw it as part of a plan to nourish curiosity, encourage creativity, and show us that right down to our favorite crayons, the things we love about life come from our fellow neighbors. Grasping these intentions and the designs that helped Fred fulfill them is key to rebuilding the neighborhood. Lots of people are doing that now, each in their own way. People tell me that Fred is as popular today as he was when he was alive. And doesn't that make sense? Who better to turn to when kindness seems lacking than the kindest person we've known? Who better to beat back the cold than the man in a cardigan sweater? As his wife, of course, I find it marvelous. I sometimes say that I'm the luckiest widow in Pittsburgh. Every day I can be close to him. I can put on his old sweaters, or sing his old songs, or meet adorable little babies in a nursery. I'm grateful. And when I consider the lives that my husband has touched, I'm grateful even more. But sometimes I worry. I worry that as the world grows meaner, kindness like Fred's can look less and less attainable. I worry we'll forget that Fred was just as human as we are. We'll forget that he sometimes had doubts, that he sometimes felt defeated, that he sometimes felt angry. We'll forget that he wasn't a saint. Don't get me wrong, Fred was the same in real life as he was on television. The Fred you saw on The Neighborhood was the Fred you saw on the street and the Fred I saw at home. That's just who he was. Fred always gave his authentic self. I mean only that there was nothing magic about him. There were no miracles in The Neighborhood. Everything you saw and everything you felt stemmed from his deliberate efforts and designs. He made kindness look easy, but even for Fred, kindness was anything but. Try your best to make goodness attractive, he liked to say. That's one of the toughest assignments you'll ever be given. If we can say anything about my husband, it's that he accepted that assignment every hour of his life. No one worked harder at being Fred Rogers than Fred Rogers himself. I trust that this won't diminish his aura. In my opinion, the extent of his efforts only makes him more remarkable. But we ought to resist